Welcome to today's video where we're going to be going over 5 teams to watch at IEM Katowice 2021. So let's get started. So first up is Gambit. So Gambit has a roster which is more up and coming, more than anything. They have 2 players which are huge prospects in the CIS scene, Shira and Axile right here. Hobbit, of course, is the veteran, I suppose, of the team. He's the in-game leader. He's actually rejoined Gambit. He was part of that Gambit side that did get to the major final in Krakow. But you can see across the board, so event history, a lot of great finishes here. So second at Snow Sweet Snow number 1. That was a very stacked event, if I'm perfectly honest, since it was online teams that were playing. DreamHack Cup in January, 3rd, 4th. That's an okay result as well. But there's basically they were dominating, well, they have been dominating really most of the cups, as it were, online, and then they're slowly pushing in to what you could argue is that tier 1 area. I actually wrote them to be my gatekeeper for like the tier 1 area as well. But I've actually decided Hobbit would be the player to watch here. He is the in-game leader, as I mentioned, but this is the key one. So events with 1+ rating since joining Gambit, 19. So he's only had one event where he did not have 1+ rating, which is actually kind of crazy, because then you consider his historical ratings here as well. So 2014 to 2017, that's his peak right there. So across the board, it's 1.09 to 1.110, or 1.10 even. But 2018, 2019, he had some down years, a lot of roster moves, not really finding his place, I guess. But once he rejoined this Gambit side, or rejoined Gambit, but joined this new Gambit side, he actually found himself flourishing, and we're actually starting to see more of that. And that's why I've chosen him to be my player to watch. Next up is FaZe Clan. So this is a bit of an interesting one, because there is of course the potential of Carrigan coming in to replace Olaf Meister, because he's debating his retirement, but he's actually said he's not too sure about it just yet. So it's a bit of a wild card, I guess, especially with Carrigan having been replaced in Mousebolt officially now as well by Degster. But of course Twistzz is the new man on the block in this side. But event history, you can see there's a lot of, I'm not going to say like bad performances, but they are bad placements right across the board. So first at IEM New York, that event really meant nothing to them other than the fact that it got them the points to get to Katowice in the first place. It was pretty much Nico's last venture with them, or like a last hurrah really. And then after that they failed to really get going. This was actually an event I think with just 2 teams or 4 teams. It was not really much of anything. But I have chosen Twistzz as the player to watch here. So he's pretty much the man to watch because he's coming into a side, a brand new fresh side. He's been on Liquid for what? Is it 5 years now? 4.5 years? Something like that? And now he departs at the end of the year. He announces his own departure as well, live on broadcast. Mad respect to him for doing that. And now he's found himself in a FaZe lineup which is going through changes, which is quite interesting because he can actually find a new breath of fresh air in a way. And we're actually already starting to see evidence of that, I guess. So you can see, this rating is a bit skewed. Like there wasn't many maps. He was playing against a lot of just NA games only, not the top tier level. But then he started getting going with Liquid. He had great 2017, 2018, 2019 going a bit lower, but 2020 was pretty rough for him. But so far in 2021 with FaZe, we're actually seeing him perform much better. And this is a reason to believe in him. He can peak this high. It's just a case of him finding whether it's the motivation or the right team behind him. And that's why I think he actually is the player to watch here. Complexity is our third team on the list. They are actually a bit more of a wild card, so I think it's fair to say that obviously they had Obo depart very suddenly, right, during ESL Pro League Season 12 here. Like, he left the team, what was it, a week before playoffs started? So they got Natus Vincere in, he covered for them in the playoffs, didn't go too great, he then stuck with them, I believe, at New York. And, you know, they basically suffered the situation where they had a stand-in for more or less every single event up until Blast Premier Spring Groups. Like, Poison was out due to medical leave for a lot of this. But worth considering, so JKS joins the team at the end of October, right, you can see here. So he's actually my player to watch. He's the first player from Oceania to make the HLTV Top 20. He did it the last 2 years. But he joins the team on October 29th. And you can see his rating here. From then till January 27th, 0.96 rating, 20 maps of the 44 with 1+ rating. That's not the sort of stuff we're used to from him either. But from that point onwards, which is where they announced Poison is returning, he's actually started flourishing again. And I am really looking forward to the prospect of him getting more comfortable and finding his place within the team. And that is why he is my player to watch. The final team on the list is actually Team Spirit. So they're a team that would, in the past, they would always be shown at events. They'd probably get a win, which is surprising, to say the least, like a bit of a wild card, a bit of dark horse, that sort of thing. But they've actually made a roster change, which really changes everything for them, in my mind. Like, Idis Balance was an incredibly inconsistent AWPer. They've brought in Degster from Espada, and he has actually been incredible for them so far. So they had one event so far with him. They won DreamHack Group in January. It was a hell of an event for both him and Mir. Like, both players performed incredibly. But I did not realise how consistent Degster was across the board. When you think what they had in the past with Idis Balance, you now have Degster, who through his entire career on HLTV, he's had 5 events with less than 1 rating. That is absurd. Honestly, this is why I'm thinking he is the missing link for this team. And with him on the board, especially with the consistency possible with having a 6th man available as well, I really think Spirit are out to do some damage at this event. And that's kind of why I've put them on this list. The next team on the list is actually Na'Vi. So it's kind of hard to go, and mention IEM Katowice this year without thinking of what Na'Vi did last year, right? Because it was honestly one of the most one-sided playoff situations I think I've seen since the previous Katowice, I guess, because Astralis did kind of walk through that. But Na'Vi demolished everybody in their way. And as you can see from the recent actual results of the last 7 events, they've always finished top 6. Cologne was a bit of a unfortunate one-off for them. But I've actually decided to go with Boomich for the player to watch with this, because we all know what to expect from Simple. He will always deliver. Electronic is right behind him, not as high on the kills tally or whatever, but I feel like Boomich is actually the kind of key factor for the most part, because he's lacked consistency, I feel, for Na'Vi in the time he's been there. So in 2019 he arrived, 1.04 rating, not bad, right? He was kind of transitioning with Zeus there and then taking over the role, so it was a difficult phase. And 2020, going down from that as well, not great at all. But so far in 2021 he's actually been performing really, really well. A 1.10 rating, which is above his average for his career. And I'm kind of thinking, if he's able to perform to this standard, then Na'Vi are such a force to be reckoned with across the board. So I feel like this is why there are teams that actually watch at Katowice.